How is 2026 going for you? Has it been the year of your dreams? Have you met all your New Year's resolutions already? Or has the year been a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more busy, or maybe even a little bit more tragic than you had originally planned and hoped for? Well, friend, I want to tell you, it doesn't matter how good you plan for the coming year. It doesn't matter what your resolutions are. Life throws curveballs our way. But there's one action, one truth, one thing we have to do and apply to our life if we want to make 2026 a good year. And it isn't having more friends. It isn't getting that raise at work. It isn't going on the fanciest vacations. It isn't any of those things. It is an essential truth that we see as we look at Exodus chapter 33 and what happens to Moses, the children of Israel, and God. What's happened so far in the Exodus journey is the people of Israel have been set free from Egypt. The 10 plagues have happened. They've crossed the Red Sea. They've seen God work many awesome miracles. But something happened. When Moses went up to Mount Sinai and returned down, he found the children of Israel worshiping a golden calf, and God gets angry, and the people are called to choose a side, and many perish for their sins. And then in Exodus chapter 33, I want you to listen to the first 3 verses and see what God tells Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Depart and go up from here, you and the people whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt, to the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, to your descendants, I will give it. And I will send my angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanite, and the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in your midst, lest I consume you on the way, for you are a stiff-necked people." So here's the picture. It's just shortly after the golden idol incident, the golden calf incident, and God tells Moses, look, go into the land I promised to give you. But here's the kicker. I'm not going with you. You want to know why I'm not going with you, Moses? It's because those Israelites, your people, are so stubborn, so stiff-necked, despite everything I've done for them, despite all the miracles, despite everything they've seen, they still refuse to worship me and follow me and obey my commands. If I go with you, I am going to end up wiping you off the face of the planet. That's what God tells Moses. In a sense, God says this. You'll have my guidance, so to speak, and my blessing, but you won't have my presence. And I feel like so many of us in our life are in a similar situation as Moses and the children of Israel. The new year has started, and we want great things for the new year, but the issue is we are settling for maybe even God's blessings. We are settling for possibly things that aren't God's blessings, like friends and fame and all these things that may or may not be bad in themselves, but instead of getting the best, which is the presence of God, we are settling for the second best. And when we settle for the things of the world, or even good things, we're missing out on the best things sometimes. A lot of us are here today, and the reason why our new year is already in shambles, the reason why we cannot move on from things that have happened so far this year is because we are going forward, but God's presence is not going with us. We have found ourselves on a journey through this 2026 year without the presence of God going with us. And we wonder why we find ourselves full of anxiety, full of depression, not knowing how to navigate through this trial or the tragedy. Even though our bank accounts may be bigger and our friend groups may be larger, we found ourselves with no peace, no contentment, no joy, and we found ourselves wondering what is going on. We would do well to see what Moses does when God says, I'm not going with you, and to do exactly as Moses did. To summarize what Moses says in verses 12 and 13, he pretty much looks at God and he says, God, I'm not going if you don't go. He says, God, look, I've been following you, and here's the thing, God, I'm not going to go if you don't go with me. You see, here's the thing. Moses had experienced God's presence. God came to Moses on Mount Sinai and he experienced God's presence. He was in the cloud, so to speak, of God's presence, and he experienced the awe of being in His presence. He experienced the peace of being in His presence. He experienced the power of the presence of God, and now God says, you're not going to have that anymore. And Moses says, well, then I'm not going. I'm not going. And so many of us, there was a time in our life where we had the peace that God's presence provides. We had the power that God's presence provides. We had the contentment that's only found in the presence of God. But somehow, somewhere, we found ourselves outside of His presence. Probably because we, like the children of Israel, wanted to do things our way. And we fell into sin, and we decided to make our own plans that did not align with God's plans. And God said, fine, have it your way, go your own way, but I'm not going with you. And then we started down this path, and we thought it was going to be great. And then we even get some of the things we wanted, but we still are not content. We still don't have peace. We're down in the deepest hole of depression. We have no answer for the anxiety we're facing, and it's a really simple reason as to why. It's because we found ourselves outside of the presence of God. How can you and I enter back into the presence of God in our life? You saw what Moses did. He says, God, I don't care about the miracles. I don't care about the blessing of having the land. I don't care about getting what I set out to get unless you go with me. Some of us need to take a few moments and re-examine our goals for the 2026 calendar year. And we need to say, God, if you don't go with me on my journey to achieve these goals, then God, I don't want these goals. You show me what my goals should be, because I don't want them unless you're with me. We have to make a decision in our hearts and in our minds to crave the presence of God above all else. And friends, I want to tell you, even if this year is full of tragedy, loss, and your bank account don't look like what you want it to look like, I want you to understand something. If you lose everything else but gain or keep the presence of God, you can make it through this year, and you will have a greater year than you ever thought possible, because greatness in this life is not dependent upon finances, social status, or fame, or anything like that. Greatness in this life and living a fulfilled life, living a life that's worth living, is totally dependent upon you basking in the presence of God on an everyday basis. Are you experiencing the peace and power of God's presence today? If you're not, then I beg you, I implore you to take a few moments right now and talk to God and say, God, why am I not experiencing your presence? Is it because, like the children of Israel, I've wandered off on my own way and chosen my sin and chosen my own plans over yours? God, if that's the case, reveal it to me. And God, help me to repent of it. Help me to turn back to you, because God, you are what I desire above all else. Friends, that's the key to making 2026 a successful year. Success is not dictated by your friend list, your bank account, how many hobbies you have, or the vacations you take. Success, contentment, and peace can be found in one place and one place only, and that is the presence of God.